Well, let's hop to it. The Battletoads franchise originated as a Nintendo game that was released in 1991. It is widely considered to be one of the hardest video games of all time. There have been a number of subsequent games released since, with the most recent being a Battletoads Xbox game that was released in 2020. I vaguely remember playing this video game at a friend's house as a child, but at some point later in life, I became aware of Battletoads as yet another attempted Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles ripoff. It's a genre I like to call Anthropomorphic Badass Manimals. So this video isn't about the games. There are plenty of people on YouTube who are way more qualified to talk about the video games, and there are a number of playthroughs. No, this video is about the 90s cartoon. Now you may be thinking back to your weekday afternoons or Saturday mornings as a kid and thinking, wait a minute, I don't remember there being a Battletoads cartoon. That's because the cartoon never got picked up as a series. All that exists is one pilot episode. But the episode did air as a TV special in 1992, so it's not like it was lost to time. By the way, the show was created by Deke and served as their first attempt to create an animated rival to Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. It failed, but they would later find success in 1994 with Street Sharks. I watched the Battletoads special, and now I need to share it with you. Obviously, as with any cartoon, the first thing you hear is the theme song. But before I play it for you, I would like to play the theme music from the original NES game. Just hear this music and it's like, memory unlocked. But it's good, right? It's kind of distinctive, but it's very quirky, yet energetic. It's the type of music that you would expect to hear when you have a bunch of toads going into battle. I'm really bad at describing music. It got sounds that make ears nice good. But this is the theme song from the cartoon. What is this? Did the Beach Boys write this? Like specifically in their post-Kokomo era? Maybe even in their Full House era? Like what is happening here? The first scene shows Princess Angelica fleeing from the Dark Queen, and we get this bit of expository dialogue from Professor T. Bird.
No, Princess Angelica, you are the last star child of the blood. The Dark Queen will do anything to get your Galactico amulet.
Then we cut to Earth, specifically to a junior high school in Oxnard, California. This is where we meet the three students, Morgan, Dave, and George, who will become the three Battletoads known as Zitz, Rash, and Pimple. Now, I am not terribly familiar with the deep Battletoads lore, but my understanding is that this cartoon is supposed to serve as a prequel to the video game. But it does not follow the canon that was established by Nintendo. See, the three Battletoads did start out as human, but they were adults. They were three roommates who also worked as computer technicians who tested video games. Which reminds me of like the romance books where the female lead is either a writer or works in publishing, or she's like a literature student or an English professor or something within that field. I think each genre has its own little self-insert elements. Anyway, the school principal feels that Morgan, Dave, and George are all bad influences on each other, so so they can't hang out together anymore.
From now on, you don't sit together. You don't hang out together. You don't get within 20 yards of each other. Understood?
Yes, sir.
Afterwards, George tries to go and join an in-progress basketball game, and he says, I kid you not, greetings, fellow kids.
Greetings, fellow kids.
How do you do, fellow kids?
The fellow kids say no,
Get lost, Toad.
and they also call him a toad for some reason.
Nice going, Toad.
Foreshadowing. Dave is having similar social issues.
How's that for a totally eyeball-frying attention grabber?
That's the ugliest thing I've ever seen in my life, except for you.
Yeah!
Morgan isn't doing much better. Meanwhile, back in outer space, Professor T-Bird has a plan to protect Angelica from the Dark Queen.
The genetic essence of the Battletoads, the guards of your royal ancestors.
But the Battletoads were wiped out eons ago.
But with this essence, we can create a new generation of Battletoads to protect you.
Foolproof. I'm also hoping that Battletoad Essence doesn't have an expiration date because it looks like it's been there for a while. I wonder what the Battletoad Essence is. I'm kind of reminded of the magicians when they needed to get god powers temporarily and what the essence was that they used. Anyway, so the Dark Queen finds them and they need to escape and go and find worthy candidates to become the Battletoads. But where will they look?
A planet so backward and insignificant that the Dark Queen never bothered to conquer it. A mysterious planet called Earth.
Love that for us. The Professor and Angelica travel through a portal directly to Oxnard.
Town of Oxnard, California.
Oxnard? It sounds so mysterious.
I think this pilot would have done a lot better if the entire show was basically just making fun of Earth. While Morgan is conveniently remarking that life would be way more awesome if it were like a video game, the Professor and Angelica appear. I love this employee in the background who just does not care at all. This cartoon isn't great, but I'm loving all of these weird little comedy elements. I think that someone that was involved in the production of this just had the right idea. So these boys are literally the first people who Angelica meets, and she's just like, all right, you're it. I have no follow-up questions or tests of skill. Here we go.
I beg of you, help us. I know that you are wise, handsome, noble members of your planet's race.
The boys agree, and they get transformed into the Battletoads. And I was expecting kind of a comedic transformation sequence here, maybe a slightly less horrifying version of the transformation in Street Sharks. But no, it's just poof, you're toads. They did not read the fine print and are now surprised to be toads.
Hey, this wasn't part of the deal.
Of course it was. You're the Battletoads.
But it appears to be a negligible concern since they immediately start fighting the Dark Queen's minions, who appear through a sloppy slurp machine. Which, that name sure is something. By the way, we see the Dark Queen grab Princess Angelica like this.
Help!
And she holds her for a while.
You are mine.
Anyway, the Battletoads fight, and the Dark Queen and her minions retreat. Princess Angelica licks an ice cream cone, like this, in not one, but multiple shots. Then she bestows the ancient names upon them.
I W Zitz, and from now on, you are Rash, and you shall be called Pimple.
The professor says that they can turn back into normal humans whenever they want, so they decide to try it out.
Let's get normal.
That's the same thing I say to myself in the mirror every morning. It never works. They leave Angelica and the professor with one of their teachers.
We've got to find some place safe to hide them until we can figure out what to do next.
I want to hear that teacher's story. Like, you're a junior high teacher and 3 of your worst students just show up at your house and are like, "We're intergalactic warrior toads. This space princess and her talking bird live with you now."
Oh. You guys are welcome to stay here as long as you need to.
Anyway, because they don't have any Earth money, the princess needs to get a job.
One of you is gonna have to get a job. Your Highness, I shall undertake this challenge.
I don't think there are many good paying positions open for alien talking birds.
Working for minimum wage, like the peasants.
The pay is $4.75 an hour.
What? Minimum wage? But she's a princess. Are you out of your psychotronic skull?
She's boxing up donuts, and one squirts all over her, and I bet anything the animators wanted to make it like a custard filling, but they knew that the network would be like, wait a minute. Meanwhile, the Battletoads have another battle as toads.
And I'm a big bad mother of all toads. Battledozer! Kiss my fist!
The toads are learning how to use their powers, but the whole fight is basically a distraction because meanwhile, the Dark Queen goes to the donut shop and kidnaps Princess Angelica. And we do see an explosion of white custard, which just supports my earlier hypothesis. The toads and the professor go after the princess in this special car that the professor souped up, and I'm assuming it is a Thunderbird.
And it's got 3 flat tires.
I've made some modifications. Besides, where we're going, we don't need tires.
That is a Back to the Future reference, and I have actually never seen Back to the Future. All my knowledge of it comes from pop culture, although I feel like that could be a video. Like, weirdo who lives under rock watches Back to the Future for the first time as an adult. I don't think this car exists in the video game, but please correct me if I am wrong. The Dark Queen has the princess strapped to this contraption, and these outfits are not what you would expect from a children's cartoon. And I don't think it's me. I don't think it's just me who has a dirty mind. Like, the Dark Queen's tower is drawn very phallic looking. When the Battletoads show up to rescue Angelica, I realize that we see Toad Butt. I don't think we ever saw Turtle Butt in Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. Maybe we did. I don't know. I'm just saying. We get a weird little fourth wall break.
Works every time.
They escape with the princess in their flying car, and the Dark Queen vows to get her revenge.
I will muster my last remaining power reserves and destroy them with the whipsaw.
To cap off the episode, the 3 kids arrive back at their school, once more in their human forms, but they end up making a mess. And everyone laughs at them, and then the principal comes out to tell them that they are suspended.
What's going on here? I told you not to see each other anymore. You violated my order. You 3 are suspended.
So they transform into the Battletoads, and now the principal is like, oh no, call the police.
Toads rule! They aren't insane. They're evil freaks. Call the police!
What are the police gonna do? Then the Dark Queen shows up to Earth and manages to broadcast herself, on all of the TVs.
I, the Dark Queen, shall now destroy your planet!
But instead of going towards any government building, she decides to go towards the local mall.
Oh no! It's headed towards the mall!
Don't let her destroy our mall!
Malls were just very important in the early 90s. The Dark Queen is defeated and her spaceship is destroyed, but even though this is treated as a victory, she already did some pretty significant damage to that mall. And I imagine at least some of that damage is structural. So if that mall can even be repaired, it might need to just be knocked down and rebuilt, but even if it can be repaired, It's gonna be closed for a long time. But still, the Toads win again.
That lady is cosmically stupid.
What did you expect from someone who hires barnyard animals?
That's a good point. The episode ends happily, with the principal now walking back his previous statements, considering the fact that his students have frightening magical powers.
So, do we still have to stay away from each other?
Of course not! Who on earth gave such a stupid order?
The princess thanks her heroes, and the episode is over. But the story is just beginning, except that it's not because the pilot was never picked up. Battletoads is still an active franchise, by the way. As I mentioned earlier, there was a Battletoads Xbox game that was released in 2020. And in addition to video game reviews and playthroughs on YouTube, you can also find some other reviews and commentaries on this failed cartoon pilot. Although none of them are wearing a frog hat, at least as far as I can tell, because I didn't really check. Guys, this hat is so highly reviewed on Amazon. Like, I don't think I've ever seen another universally loved product. It is way better than this other hat, where the placement of your head has some very unfortunate implications. There's also a line of Battletoads action figures that are currently available for pre-order from a company called Premium DNA Toys. Although I found this interesting blog post alleging that this company has some problems, and even though the toys are currently available for pre-order, they may never actually get delivered. Allegedly. G Fuel also recently announced a Battletoads themed energy drink, which is a fun partnership, like that makes sense. But the name of the flavor is called Zits Juice, which I know is the name of one of the main characters, but also gross. Love of Battletoads is still alive and well on the internet. Like, there is a surprising amount of Battletoads fan art out there. And some of the works are phenomenal. Like, these artists are incredibly talented. A lot of the art is of the Dark Queen, which is not a surprise. Actually, there is way more fan art of the Dark Queen than there is of Princess Angelica. And while there are a few works that depict the Dark Queen and Princess Angelica together, if I'm being honest, there are not nearly as many as I thought there would be. You can also find some women cosplaying as the Dark Queen. There's this one image in particular that comes up a lot. She did a great job. Like, that looks really good. It looks so good that I'm not even entirely sure if I can show it. While there is barely any Battletoads fanfiction, I did find a gem on fanfiction.net written by a Mr. Hulk in 2008. The story is rated T14 and is structured in 2 parts. In the first part of the story, Princess Angelica approaches Zits and asks for his help with something, referencing his ability to extend certain parts of his body. And in the second part, it is revealed that she wanted him to extend an arm to change a light bulb. Because of course that's what it was. What did you think that it was? While Battletoads has never quite risen to the pop culture levels of Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, it is still a very beloved franchise. And I think it's a shame that it never got a good television or movie adaptation. I kind of think that a well-made Battletoads movie could actually do pretty well. Like, if you lean into some of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles similarities, but you add a little bit of parody elements and maybe make it more of like a dark science fiction comedy with a lot of blink and you miss it type of dirty jokes. Like, if you create something that's sort of a juxtaposition against the more wholesome elements of Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. The Battletoads cartoon had some level of awareness that the premise was ridiculous, and I think that that's a pretty good foundation. Like, we had very straightforward superhero movies like Batman and Superman and Iron Man and Captain America and whatnot. And then we got the more gritty superhero shows like The Boys or Watchmen. And then we got the more tongue-in-cheek superheroes like Shazam and Deadpool. And I think that kind of grittier, more sarcastic counterpoint to the Ninja Turtles could be really interesting. Just as long as they keep the Dark Queen in her dominatrix outfit. This show is riveting. They better watch where they park that car or they're gonna get towed. Totally toadacious. I wonder if that pink car has any frog lights. Get it? It's like fog lights, but it's frog because they're toads. Watch where you're running or you'll stub your toad. Oh no, I hope the Battletoads don't croak. Some toads produce a poisonous secretion behind their eyes that can kill small animals. That's not a pun, it's just a fun fact about toads.
Across the universe, now we're green and we're totally fine.